episode of Maxwell Starr's Beer Review. Tonight we're going to take a look at Alexander Keith's Dark Ale. Alexander Keith's Dark Ale comes in at 4.1% ABV. It says Keith's Dark Ale is crafted using roasted specialty malts to create a dark mahogany colored ale with distinctive notes of chocolate and coffee. This smooth-tasting dark ale is brewed to the same uncompromising standards as all Alexander Keith's fine beers. Now, one thing I got to say about Alexander Keith's is when they try to do a class beer, they're not really the most on the ball. It's like throwing bombs at a specific target. Sometimes you miss, sometimes you hit. With Alexander Keith's Dark Ales, originally they were advertising this as Alexander Keith's Stout. However, it's very thin and nowhere near the mark. I've had this on a number of occasions, but I've never actually, come around to reviewing it personally. And I'm about to do so. So let's take a look at her. It's one of those beers where I've been putting off doing it because I know what it's like already. Not that I want this to be a scathing review. I'm going to be fair in what I say. Gotta admit, it's got a decent head. 2 fingers. Pour some more into that glass there. There's still some left in the can. Quite a bit of head. In the appearance, it's dark. See-through though. It's not opaque. It's definitely filtered. It looks like it's got a ruby red appearance. It's black towards the middle because of how dark it is, but in the most part, it's not dark as a stout. The head's definitely going down as well and turning into large bubbles. So it's got some decent head retention, but it's not absolutely perfect. But you can't hardly call that a slight against it, because when you pour it into a glass like that, that looks really nice. That does look like a very nice beer from that standpoint. Yeah, doesn't it? I mean, look, if you were to have this glass handed to you at a bar or something, and you saw a nice pour, a nice amount of head right sitting around the top, doesn't that look like a beer that's so appetizing you want to drink it right up? And it does. It looks the part. It looks like a really nice dark ale. As the original advertisement said, that if it looked like a stout, maybe not quite, but it's still not a bad looking beer. So, dark color. It's got an off-white tan colored head, slightly brown. Giving it a sniff. I'm more inclined to smell my hand right now. I got some kind of, from one of the caps or my bottle opener or something. This isn't my first review of the night. There's a subtle malty sweetness, but I'm getting this more like a dusty smell off of the top of this one. And I'm quite sure that's probably more from the glass. No, maybe not the glass. I wash all my glasses, so I'm really careful and strict about how I do them. Yeah, I'm just getting this slight amount of musk coming off of this one. But really, there's like a slight amount of like a subtle amount of like a coffee and sweet malt, but really not a very strong smell coming off this at all. It's bland. So, let's give it a taste. Bland. Very watery. You get the subtle touches of like a chocolate and a caramel and a sweet malt. But for the most part, they're very weak. Some tastes of a roasted malt. And a roasted malt bitterness lingers in the back of the throat. Very slightly. But for the most part, this beer is very light, very watery, and it makes the beer really easy to drink. And I suppose in this respect, it's going to be very, very mass market acceptable to like the kind of people that want to try something different from Keith's. Those people that are really really infatuated with their India Pale Ale, which really doesn't resemble an India Pale Ale at all. However, it's still a very nice macro pale ale. Excuse me. In this situation, this one here is quite bland. Other than some slight roasted coffee and roasted bitterness flavors, with some hints of chocolate. To be totally honest, though, it tastes like drinking water out of an ashtray. It's not a good thing to say either. It's like having burnt malt mixed with water, carbonated water. And you don't taste the alcohol at all. What's the ABV? 4.1. It's very weak too. Yeah. So what can I say about this particular beer? At least the finish is dry, and it looks pretty. Aesthetically pleasing, this beer is really nice and really quite easy to drink. If you're looking for a beer with flavor, though, I would suggest strongly to look elsewhere. Even Alexander Keith's India Pale Ale and their other seasonal favorites like their Tartan Ale, their Harvest Ale, offer a better beer experience, in my opinion, than the Alexander Keith's Dark Ale. I thought at one point that this beer was supposed to be discontinued because it had become delisted from the NB liquor sites. But however, we got more in, so I don't think this is getting discontinued just yet. And I know a few people that really swear by this particular beer when they go in for a beer at various restaurants or bars. So there are people that do like this beer, but do I consider this a quality beer in my own right? No. I've had a love-hate okay, I haven't had a love-hate relationship. I've kind of had a hate on for this particular beer for the last couple of years. Maybe I'm coming into this review with a predisposition, and I'm giving credit credit where credit is due in the fact that it has some nice merits to it, but I don't think they're really enough to make me think that this is a great beer. Very mild, very weak, very bland. When it comes to a dark ale, I would appreciate it a bit more, I don't know, flavor to a particular beer like this than I got. It's not absolutely horrible, but I don't think it's pass-worthy. Ah, hell. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Just barely a pass. That's a strong thing to say from a beer that I don't really care for. Some people will like it, and it's one that I can't hate on enough, but I can't give it too much credit. If you like dark beers, you might like trying that one, but for the most part, you're probably going to see a beer that's really bland and watery. 2.5 out of 5 from me goes more towards the people who like drinking the thicker beer, drinking those blander beers. When it comes to drinking it, like in the sense of as a craft beer, avoid it at all costs because you're not going to like it. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that though. 2.5 out of 5 for me. Thanks for watching Maxwell Starr's beer review. Hope you enjoyed watching this review and you're not throwing your mouse at the TV or computer or whatever. And I'll talk to you guys later.